Hey everyone, it's Karishma. Welcome to another Pathways Education video. This video is in the skill building pathway, and today we're going to be talking about study tips and methods. So regardless of what grade level you're in, studying can be a daunting task. Figuring out how to study, where to study, it can be a little bit scary sometimes. But the good news is that there are endless techniques for studying, and we're going to be going over quite a few of them today. So the first place on our pathway is at study tips. This is what we're going to be talking about first. The number one tip I have is to find a good location, a location where distractions are eliminated and you can concentrate. But it's really important to know yourself and how you study. Do you need it to be super quiet, or do you like a little bit of background noise? For those who can't study in complete silence, a cafe is a good bet. Someplace where it's not too loud and not too distracting, but at least there's some background chatter and noise. But for those of us like myself who need it to be completely quiet, the library or a desk in a more isolated area is going to be your best bet. Moving on to food. So, nourishing our body, making sure we have high energy so that we can stay focused is really important. I know a lot of times we talk about caffeine and drinking 5 hour energy when we study, but it might help us for the short term period. But thinking long term, it's not going to be the best for us. So, foods like sugar and caffeine, yes, initially you'll feel energized, but you will crash later on. And for tasks, tests, readings that require long amounts and long periods of focus, this isn't your best bet. I would look for foods that are high in protein, like lima beans, peas, and fruit. Fruit is a great way to get natural sugar. So at least you can stay feeling energized, but this will last for a longer period of time. So you don't feel, like you crash super soon. Moving on, materials. I think when you start to study, it's really important that you have all your materials in front of you so you don't have to keep getting up and interrupt your studying. For tasks that require a computer, having your laptop, your charger there so that you're not running into problems like running out of battery. That will just decrease your efficiency of studying. I personally love these little sticky tabs. It helps me keep track of places that I need to come back to when I'm reviewing, or when I have questions I need to ask my professor, I'll use a certain color. So just finding materials that work best for you and making sure they're in your study area is very important. Next, we have take breaks. Multiple studies have shown that taking breaks can improve attention, recall, and focus. So why not take breaks? I know when you're, studying for a big test, you might feel like taking a break is going to, decrease the amount of time that you have to review material. But in the long term, for remembering on the test, it's actually better. Um, and another tip that I have is to strategize the types of breaks that you take. If studying requires you staring at the computer, take a break by going outside. It's probably better than maybe watching a TV show where you're still going to be looking at a screen. Cooking, making yourself a healthy meal, that's also a wonderful break. Exercising to get that endorphin release. These are all good breaks where your eyes don't have to be super focused on small text or looking at a screen, and you can come back feeling refreshed and energized. All right, moving on, we have study methods. So the previous set of tips were just tips, but how do we study? Like, what are the best ways to study? One method is called the Pomodoro Method. I personally find it good for longer tasks, like a longer period of reading, um, just generally tasks where you're going to have to be sitting in a place for a long time. And it's pretty simple. All you need is a timer. So step one is to set a 25-minute timer. Work on your task diligently until the time is up. When your time is up, take a 3 to 5 minute break so you can stretch, get a glass of water, a quick snack, quick break, then repeat again starting from step one. And once you've done this 4 times, this is known as one Pomodoro, Once you've done 4 Pomodoros, you're going to take a longer 15 to 30-minute break. So, this is something where you could make a quick meal, have a quick chat on the phone with a friend. So it's just a longer break. And like I said earlier, I found this is really great for when I have a long reading to do, or just tasks that when I sit down, it looks daunting. But this is a really great way to break it up and also maintain your focus. And I found that it does lead to really great results on tests. The next method, more of a tool, is called Anki. It's good for when you have to memorize large volumes of information. This can be, just terms, or it can also be diagrams. It's a free computer program. It does take some time to learn, so there are a lot of other YouTube videos that out there that can help you learn Anki. Personally, that's how I learned, is by watching how other people use it effectively. I found it's great for science classes, for anatomy classes, when you have to memorize certain things. And if you don't have Anki and you don't have access to a laptop, you can do it yourself with flashcards. Basically, Anki is a tool based on active recall, meaning you're actively stimulating your memory for a piece of information. And studies have shown that this leads to really great results on tests, is when you practice not just reading, passively reading, highlighting, underlining, but actually quizzing yourself and forcing your brain to recall a word. So one way you can do it is just by making flashcards. You can make flashcards, and when you work on them every day, you can put them into 3 different piles: easy, medium, and hard. And so the next day when you do your flashcards, you can do just the easy and medium, or just the medium and hard pile. And then you can wait a few days to do the easy cards. So that way the hard cards you're repeating on a day-to-day basis, whereas the easier cards, you can space out, between 3 or 4 days you can do them. And the goal is eventually to get all the cards from the hard pile into the easy pile. So if you're doing the hard cards every day and they start to become part of your memory and you're able to recall them faster, you can move them to the easy pile. So if you don't have access to a computer, if you for some reason you cannot download Anki, you can totally do this yourself. It's just using the principle of active recall. The next tip that I have is interleaving practice. This is really good for any type of studying, and you don't need anything at all. This is just a technique for when you're doing practice problems to mix up the types of problems that you do when you study. So let's take chemistry, for example. When you're studying for a chemistry test that's covering multiple topics, maybe a midterm or a final, you don't every day want to do practice problems of just one type. You don't want to just one day do titration problems, the next day do um, acid base problems, the next day do you know orbital problems and quantum mechanics problems. Every day you want to do a mix of these types of problems so that nothing goes for a long time without you repeating it. So day one, do a mix of titration, quantum mechanics problems, intermolecular force problems. Don't separate them based on the subject. And I actually used to do this for a while. I used to say, okay, day one, I'm going to study this, and day two, I'm only going to study this. But, when I read the studies showing that interleaving practice helps, and I started to do it, I noticed that when test day came, I could recall things much faster. So each day, complete problems of different types. Try to avoid practicing just one type of problem per day and then never coming back to it, because studies have shown that this leads to higher test results and longer retention. All right, last thing we have to cover is mindset. So when you've studied and it's 2 nights, the night before a test, and you're kind of winding down, because I hope you didn't procrastinate, sleep. Sleep has been shown to help learning and memory in 2 main ways. The first is through focus. Many studies have shown that a sleep-deprived person cannot focus attention optimally, and therefore they can't learn efficiently. So sleep helps with focus, which you'll definitely need during your test. And the second thing is that sleep has a role in the consolidation of memory. So when you sleep, your brain has time to absorb the information and strengthen those connections. And it's essential for learning new information. So you want this to be functioning at 100% when it comes time to take your test. And lastly, be confident in all of your hard work. If you come across something you don't know, stay calm. It is likely in there somewhere. Or even if it's something you totally forgot to study, the odds are that based on the information that you already know, you will be able to make an educated guess. All right, so thank you so much for listening to this presentation. Follow us more to learn more about the many different pathways you can take. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Our Instagram is pathways_edu, and our website is www.guidingpathways.org. You can follow us to be updated whenever we post new information. Thank you.